couple of minutes early to make sure that everything is running right. Yep. I'm going to actually announce this on the socials this time too. It's been a while since I felt confident enough to do that. Whether we get people in or not, we're going to get this cast started. Welcome to Kalari Crafting Chat. We are going to be painting a very special figure today, requested by my sweetie. And it was based off a 3D print, actual picture print that he got for himself. And then he got me one in the Bulbasaur, which will probably be one of the next prints I print out. I'm really excited to get this done. We have Lucario here with his little Pokeball, only it's going to be a little bit different. Axiom likes the Premier Balls, but he asked for a specific color for his Premier Ball. So it's going to be really interested to get this painted. I also did a bit of a YouTube short, but this was not the only week we had in printing. I had this one print overnight. It's our Swift Heart Rabbit. It's one of his favorites. I already got started painting the base for him. It's part of the Care Bear cousin line that I'm going to do for friends and family based on what they like. You know, I'm a huge Care Bear fan. I've already painted things like Funshine Bear, and I've got to make her base with her name. And my personal favorite, Grumpy Bear. I've been having a lot of fun printing these out, painting them. I've got my Lots of Love lamb in the room already displayed. And I can't forget this first one, Share Bear, the classic one. I even got to draw in her little shake and add my little flair to it. So I'm having a lot of fun painting these 3D prints, even though I do not particularly find it fun to discuss the things that I'm discussing. But it is what it is. We are in week 3 of the Trump/Republican shutdown. And there's a lot of fallout. But we had an amazing weekend full of peaceful protests, which drove the mad dictator down. And I wish that it wasn't just the second day of the week, because it already feels like it has been ongoing for 80 years, as I said last time. And we're going to open up with, I recall the doofus saying he was not going to damage our White House to put in this unnecessary ballroom. But he lies. And now we are going to watch in real time him tearing up the people's White House. Because need I remind you, tax dollars fund the White House to put in this unnecessary $250 million ballroom when we are literally in a government shutdown that's costing us billions a day. All right, let's get David Muir fired up so that we can get this painted started, because I don't want to raise my blood pressure too much right now. I'm trying to think of good and expel the bad. So let's get this all fired up, and I'll make my commentary as we go along.
Americans are getting their first look at demolition underway at the White House.
Ridiculous.
Work crews making room for President Trump's $250 million ballroom. The president has said the ballroom construction would not interfere with existing White House structures.
But he's destroying several wings, including the First Lady's offices, the movie room, and a couple of other access to like a bunker in case there's an issue. So there's absolutely no reason to do this, on top of the fact that a ballroom in the White House is a security nightmare. But this man doesn't care. He doesn't care about actual national security, but we'll get to that because there's a lot to go over today.
It comes on day 20, by the way, of the government shutdown. Congress still getting paid, with thousands of workers fired now. And tonight, 1,400 workers at the National Nuclear Security Agency have now been furloughed. Mary Bruce.
Yes, because one of the main things we need are people watching and making sure we don't have reactor issues or radiation leaks. But this man doesn't care, because even if he destroys the lot of us, he still thinks his money can protect him. It's ridiculous.
At the White House tonight.
With the government now shut down for 20 days and the House out of session, tonight activity of a different kind getting attention. crews at the White House tearing down walls as construction on President Trump's vast new ballroom gets underway.
Ridiculous.
Trump once promised the project wouldn't interfere with the current structure of the White House.
Yeah. About to see a lie. Remember this.
It won't interfere with the current building. It'll be near it, but not touching it, and pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of.
Today,
Fucking
demolition
liar.
began, bulldozers ripping away portions of the East Wing. The president holding an event inside, acknowledging the commotion.
Right on the other side, you have a lot of construction going on, which you might hear periodically.
Trump's
I need to ask diehard Trump fans, when you listen to this man right in real time lie, saying that it wouldn't affect the White House directly, they weren't going to touch it, and now watching him destroy the East Wing. Using Bible thumpers for the law to use. And lying is right up there with the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not. But yet you continue to blindly follow this motherfucker. I do not understand your loyalty.
says the new ballroom will be 90,000 square feet, larger than the White House residence itself. It will hold 999 people and cost $250 million, which the president insists will come entirely from private donations.
You'll have drinks, cocktails.
Which should scare the shit out. Who is privately donating for this vanity project? And what the fuck do they want in return? Seriously, this is a breach of all kinds of ethics and morality.
Everything on this floor, and then they'll say, welcome to dinner. You walk into the ballroom, Mr. Senators.
The president only briefly addressing the government shutdown today as its ripple effects are spreading. Roughly 1,400 employees of the National Nuclear Security Administration of Americans.
Republicans seem happy not to work.
Yeah.
Happy not to negotiate. Yeah. Happy to let healthcare premiums spike for over 20 million working and middle-class Americans.
Now we've asked the White House how this demolition squares with the president's pledge not to interfere with the current structure, but so far, no response. David.
Bruce at the White House tonight. Mary, thank you.
And that just kicks off all the bad that this week has brought, and it's only 2 days in. But when I tell you that it just makes me upset that I even talk out of my face at this point, because not only do we need qualified and skilled nuclear employees to make sure we don't have meltdowns and stuff, this administration is wasting money that they claim are for private donors on things that are unnecessary. Why do we need a ballroom to pass out drinks and stuff? Why isn't Mike Johnson doing his fucking job? It is beyond me, and I'm pissed off. But let's move on, because the emperor with no new clothes, who got mad at Time magazine for featuring his bald spot, decided that he was going to go after the peaceful protesters of the No Kings massive rallies this weekend. And he's just mad, as far as I'm concerned, that more people showed up to that than any of his sad rallies or his inaugurations. But I found this short by Tizzy Entertainment that just sums up how you should feel about this ridiculous man and his tantrums.
What's your response to the protests over the weekend, the No Kings protests?
I think it's a joke. I looked at the people. The demonstrations were very small, very ineffective, and the people were whacked out.
There were millions. Literal millions. Even in places like North Carolina, which they are still trying to cheat to help Trump out by getting an extra GOP seat to try to counteract things like the Epstein files. But all of this Craven stuff is going to have a downfall for everybody who's helping to try to keep this tyranny in check.
Look at those people. Those are not representative of the people of our country.
They really
Donald
are.
Trump responding to the No Kings protest, saying it was very small. Really?
Look at that.
Being reported 7 million people. Actually, it's looking like it's a lot more than that. That was the conservative numbers that came out first.
Exactly.
It is the most people who have ever gathered in protest against the sitting American president.
And
but
to
hey,
add,
at least he's mature about it.
Not to interrupt, but to add, we literally had them out this way. I live in a fucking rural area. No shade. I love it out here. It's peaceful. But when you got motherfuckers out here who used to fly their Trump banners saying enough's enough because they're about to lose their farms, you know you done fucked up.
It's not like he went on True Social and posted an AI video of him flying an F-15 wearing a crown and literally dumping shit on Americans.
Yeah. This is disgusting.
A sitting U.S. president did that. And then he said, there's not representative of the people of America, the people who shut up. Really, how about her? Friend sent me this. This was at one of her protests. I'm 101 having first protest fun. She was blown away, she said, by how many boomers and elderly showed up in protest of him.
Which
people are sick of his shit. But he posted that weird video, and also Trump admin to investigate No Kings protest and find out who's behind it, who organized, who did this.
It's grassroots,
that's the response. And for all of the conservatives I see going what did you accomplish with your little protest? Trump's response to No Kings marches only proved the protesters' point. That's
exactly. What did you prove? We proved that we don't want tyranny. We proved that we want to protect democracy. We've proved that this man is not fit to lead. Look at his response. Did you think Joe Biden, former President Biden, that would have ever done anything like this? No, because a president is a president for everybody, even people who are against him. He had people protesting about Gaza, which I like to remind you that ceasefire was garbage. He didn't get on social media deriding people's right to protest. But this motherfucker can use AI to say, I'm going to take a shit on the American people. And we still got craven MAGA morons like Mike Johnson sitting there oh, it's just satire. No, it's a sign that he's an unstable, just awful man.
That's what we accomplished. Him, flustered and broken because he's such a fragile little fuck.
Yep.
Totally bent out of shape because people don't like him. And guess what, dude? Most people don't like you. But also, really quickly with this, they have time for this. They have time to investigate who's behind No Kings and investigate the Antifa organization that isn't an organization. But they can't release the fucking Epstein files?
Nope.
They're just files you have to just release to everyone. And you can't quite do that. Release the fucking files.
What's your response to the protests over the weekend, the No Kings protests?
I'm with everybody that's saying it now, because I honestly still don't care. I feel like if there was any of their enemies on there, he would have released at least excerpts. But because he was BFFs with Jeffrey Epstein, they are trying their hardest to hide this. Predators, they protect predators always. That is what the GOP is about. That is what they're always going to be known for. History will not be kind to these predator protectors. Point blank, period. But let's move on to this coverage by ABC News of him using the AI, because never in the history of U.S. presidents has there been such an embarrassing time for somebody to be in the White House. We're going to get this one fired up.
Millions of people from coast to coast gathered this weekend to protest the Trump administration. The so-called No Kings protests happened in smaller communities and big ones like this rally here in Chicago. Now, President Trump's response to the protests on social media is raising eyebrows. News 4's Erica Gonzalez talked with an expert today about what has become a growing use of AI by the president to troll his opponents.
President Trump's use of AI to troll his political opponents on social media is raising eyebrows this week after Saturday's No Kings protest across the country opposing the president's use of executive power. He posted an AI video on his Truth Social platform showing him flying a fighter jet, dropping what appears to be feces on protesters. NBC News politics reporter Alan Smith joined.
And need I remind you, this is almost 80-year-old man. I keep saying it because I know it pisses people off. He's almost 80. The dude is old, and he shouldn't be doing stuff like this. This is stuff you do in junior high school. And I'm actually saying that when there's probably way more mature junior high school kids than our current sitting president. It's a shame.
Joins us now to talk about the president's use of AI in social media and the response to all of this. Alan, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, the president's use of social media platforms to call out his opponents, that's nothing new, right? But he seems to be leaning into AI a lot more lately. There's even another video showing Democratic leaders bowing to him while he dons a crown. What do you make of all of this?
Ridiculous.
Well, this is happening, as AI is taking off more and more in our society. My colleagues here at NBC did an analysis and found that not only has his usage of AI generated content increased this year, most of the AI generated videos that he has posted have only come within the last couple of months. It's a new way to target his critics, obviously with footage that previously, in many cases, wouldn't have been possible or wouldn't have been quite as easy to make. So he has promoted these videos with increasing regularity. And I think there's a lot of questions that remain as to, where he's finding these videos and if it is.
It's AI. You can literally type in a prompt and get it. I am literally using AI right now to help me flesh out an animation idea for Olaroon. So it really isn't that hard. And that's why he's using it. It is literally the laziest way to get shit done. If I had the extra finances to actually pay artists, I would rather use an artist to render a lot of my ideas. But unfortunately right now, AI is affordable. You can put in a quick prompt and literally have it spit out at least a function idea. The only current problem I have with AI in regards to that is the fact that it changes depending on the cell. So it takes a lot more attention to detail to get a working set of frames. And you have to have patience with AI. Because as much as the tech bros want to act like it's the new wave and it's sophisticated, it still has a long way to go.
He himself who is posting it online, or if aides are posting these to his Truth Social account.
Yeah,
you referenced some other people, right, in the inner circle.
Office.
What has been the response from the White House or any other members of the administration about these posts?
His administration, when it has come to this or really any other AI videos, they have pushed back on criticism saying that this is trolling, these are jokes, and if you don't find it...
You are the president of the United States. You do not need to be trolling. You do not need to be making such jokes. This is beyond ridiculous. It's ridiculous, it's stupid, and it's something that you expect from somebody who doesn't have maturity. Not a 70-plus-year-old man who is supposed to be the leader of the free world.
Funny, you simply can't take a joke. And this has been their response to a lot of the president's social media postings, not just about AI-generated content, but really throughout his time in power, dating back to the first term.
Alan, at a time when we hear politicians talk about tamping down the rhetoric, right, a government shutdown about to enter its fourth week, this can't help bridge the divide. But does it land with his base?
Well, I think one of the interesting things is that a lot of these videos that he promotes, they start out or are created by much lower level or smaller accounts that do associate or support the president. There's a huge segment of the president's base that is very engaged online, not only in consuming this content, but creating it themselves. That is a segment of the base. Certainly, there's a lot of the president's supporters that, don't participate in this stuff at all, would be confused by it, and certainly would come out and say, I don't necessarily support a video showing, a fake video of the president dumping excrement on other people. But certainly, this is the kind of content that, animates a segment of the base. And I would be very surprised to see any sort of tapering off of these kinds of posts.
Which is sad.
NBC News politics reporter Alan Smith, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ridiculous. We really are in dark times, for real. And this is why the midterms are so important. This is why we have to start really paying attention to our political investments, because there are people out there that don't want us. I can't figure out what's on timer and what isn't. I thought I had to vote one on command, but once again, I'll have to figure all that out. Either way, it's a mess, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. We have Anonymous here with their take on his responses to the No Kings, because it is ridiculous that a sitting president could be this immature, but it's not surprising. Let's get this fired up while I work on the
Here to praise power. We are here to expose it. We are the voice that echoes through the static, the eyes that watch in the dark, and the spirit that refuses to bow to any king. Tonight we reveal the full truth of what happened after the record-breaking No Kings protest, how Donald Trump spiraled into rage and madness through the night, while millions of Americans stood tall and peaceful in defiance of his self-declared crown. On October 18th, 2025, the second nationwide No Kings rally exploded into history.
Look at those crowds.
More than 7 million people filled the streets across over 600 locations in all 50 states. It became the largest single day of protest in United States history. From Los Angeles to Chicago, New York to Seattle, people of every generation and background gathered to say one simple thing: America has no kings. The streets were alive with color, sound, and unity. Families held signs reading "No crowns, no thrones, no kings." In San Francisco, protesters formed human chains, spelling out the words "No Kings" across city blocks. In Washington, D.C., 200,000 citizens filled the National Mall in what local officials called the largest demonstration of the decade. Police departments reported 0 arrests in major cities like New York, San Diego, and Austin. The protests were loud but peaceful, massive but orderly. For one day, the people proved what democracy looks like when it breathes freely. But while millions marched peacefully, Donald Trump lost control. His public meltdown began before midnight. Instead of addressing the message of the people, he unleashed a storm of rage and delusion online. On his personal platform, he posted an AI-generated video showing himself as King Trump, piloting a fighter jet, dropping sludge over peaceful demonstrators. The grotesque image was accompanied by music from Top Gun, turning his insecurity into spectacle.
Posted this AI video of a King Trump fighter jet dumping feces on peaceful protesters, and Harry Sisson was someone who was in the peaceful protest there in New York. And
in another clip, he appeared in golden armor with a sword, placing a crown on his head as crowds kneeled before him.
AI videos that J.D. Vance posted with Donald Trump putting a crown on his head and holding up a sword. I mean, this.
And J.D. Vance is such a taint licker at this point. What the heck is wrong with that man? This was the dude that, in his own words, called Trump America's Hitler, and now helping spread trolling around because he wants to be part of that cool kids club, which isn't really cool. It's a bunch of old men and wannabe frat boys who couldn't even join a frat that are just ridiculous at this point. They should not be in government. I'm telling you, it is ridiculous that we even have to have these conversations in this 25th century of living. It's crazy to me.
This behavior is just absolutely abhorrent.
His followers reposted it like it was propaganda from another era, a cult of personality in full collapse. This wasn't strength. This was desperation. Reporters and citizens across the country watched in disbelief. Even conservative media struggled to justify it. Trump's behavior that night wasn't presidential. It was petulant, as if he truly believed the protests were an attack on his royal ego. He kept reposting more images, more fantasies, showing himself above the people he was supposed to serve. His supporters applauded him as a king. But the rest of America saw a frightened man.
And that is why the protest was called No Kings. He is not active presidential. Whether you voted for him or not, He is supposed to be our voice, our representative, and he's not. And he proves that over and over again with these childish tantrums and beyond. And the worst yet is that his base think that, oh, well, he'll favor us. Yeah, he doesn't want your approval. He already got that. What he craves is the adoration of people who will never give him a smidgen of that because we didn't want his ass in the White House again in the first place.
Man in a golden mirror, raging against a democracy that no longer bowed to him. And while Trump ranted online, his government showed its own dark reflection of that mentality. In Southern California, military units were ordered to conduct a live fire demonstration over Interstate 5 near Camp Pendleton, forcing the closure of the highway. Governor Gavin Newsom condemned it as reckless and politically motivated.
Can you believe these 3D models were generated by Tripo? Just upload your images or ideas. Click generate.
Residents described the sound of gunfire echoing over their cars as surreal, like a dictatorship flaunting power before its people. It was supposed to be a military anniversary event, but under Trump's leadership, it became something else, a warning shot across America's conscience. It was intimidation disguised as ceremony, and everyone knew it. As Trump posted memes of himself in a crown, his administration mocked democracy further. Official government accounts released cartoon images portraying political opponents like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries as princesses. Meanwhile, they were actively trying to strip healthcare protections from millions of Americans.
Yep.
The hypocrisy.
And I need to remind you that the midterms are coming up. If your politicians are engaging in immature shenanigans like that, you need to vote them out. You need to remind them that they work for us, not the other way around. And if they've got time to do this instead of legislating to protect millions of Americans from losing their insurance, protect American citizens who are furloughed from losing their jobs, they don't need to be sit-in representatives. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous that I even have to say this.
Was breathtaking. They laughed while threatening the lives of their own citizens through policies designed to punish dissent and enrich the few. In those hours, the office of the presidency looked less like a symbol of democracy and more like a stage for a narcissist king performing for his loyal court. Across the country, the protests continued into the next day. In Philadelphia, tens of thousands marched to Independence Hall, chanting, "No kings, no crowns, only people." In Minneapolis, young activists carried signs reading, "Resist is resist the throne." In San Diego, families with children walked together, holding paper crowns that read, "We the people." The atmosphere was defiant but peaceful. Police departments released statements thanking protesters for demonstrating responsibility and restraint. Officers themselves said it felt like history, not chaos.
Exactly. But that is what the right was hoping for. And I am so glad the people did not give them what they wanted. They wanted bloodshed. They wanted a reason to instate martial law. And what they got was millions of Americans saying, we can protest this without acting like immature babies. Unlike your January 6th terrorists.
But awakening. It was proof that Americans could protest power without violence. That real strength lies in restraint. That democracy is not about fear, it's about voice. Trump's reaction to that truth was predictable denial projection and fury. He kept posting through the night, ranting about fake patriots and traitors. He blamed governors, mayors, journalists, even his own advisors. He reposted images comparing himself to George Washington and Julius Caesar. He called peaceful protesters enemies of the state. But what he couldn't admit was that the protests shook him to his core. For a man obsessed with control, the sight of millions standing without fear was unbearable. His madness that night wasn't about memes or mockery. It was about fear. Fear of irrelevance, fear of justice, fear of losing the illusion of power. Even within the government, cracks began to show. Military sources leaked that one admiral in the Caribbean resigned after refusing to carry out Trump's unauthorized maritime strikes near Venezuela and Colombia operations that had already caused civilian deaths. Trump boasted online about taking out narco-terrorists, but the New York Times later revealed that the survivors were not terrorists at all. They were fishermen. 2 survivors were repatriated instead of detained, a cover-up to silence witnesses. That same night, while he laughed online, people died at sea, and yet all he cared about was proving his own dominance. He wasn't protecting America. He was performing for his ego. This is the world the No Kings movement rose against. Not just Trump's tantrum, but the system that enabled it, a system of fear, spectacle, and corruption. The people in the streets weren't radicals. They were nurses, teachers, veterans, students, workers, immigrants, and neighbors. They were the backbone of the nation, standing up against the erosion of the republic. They weren't chanting for chaos. They were demanding accountability. They weren't tearing down America. They were defending it. The message of No Kings is simple power belongs to the people, not to one man, not to one family, not to a crown or a throne. America was born in rebellion against monarchy, and it will not die under one man's delusion of being king. When Trump mocked protesters with his AI fantasies, he revealed what he truly fears: unity. Because unity cannot be bribed, bullied, or bought. It cannot be censored by a meme. It cannot be destroyed by live fire over a highway. It grows stronger each time power mocks it. That night, while Trump spiraled into madness, the world watched. International media compared his behavior to the autocrats he once praised. European leaders called the protests a democratic renaissance. Human rights organizations hailed it as one of the most peaceful mass demonstrations in modern history. From London to Tokyo, messages of solidarity poured in. America has no kings. The movement had crossed oceans, and as dawn broke, something changed. For the first time in years, the people felt their voice again. In cities still echoing with chants, volunteers picked up trash, handed out water-hugged police officers who had stood by them without conflict. They smiled, exhausted but proud. They knew the struggle wasn't over, but they had reclaimed something sacred, the right to be heard. That's what democracy looks like. It's not the roar of a jet or the shine of a golden crown. It's the sound of millions of footsteps moving together in peace. Donald Trump went mad all night because he realized something he could never accept. He is not a king. The throne he imagined exists only in his mind. The crown he wears is made of lies. The people he mocked are the same people who built the nation he pretends to rule. History will not remember his tantrum as strength. It will remember it as the night a man who wanted to be king lost to the citizens who refused to kneel. So to those listening now, remember this moment. Remember the night America reminded itself who truly holds power. Remember that democracy doesn't end when leaders fall. It ends when people stop standing. Don't stop. Don't turn away. Don't let fatigue replace freedom. The No Kings movement is not over. It is only beginning. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forget. We do not forgive. We are the voice of the people, and we will never kneel to a crown. Join us. Speak up. Share the truth. Because the age of kings is over, and the age of the people has begun.
Exactly. And what I love about stuff like this is that more and more people are starting to open their eyes and realize that no matter what they try to do, it is only going to harm us if we allow it. But if we stand together and protest peacefully and vote, especially during the midterms, they have no way to fight back against us. We have to take their weapons away, which is our voice and our vote. Because staying silent is condoning this regime. And it's dangerous. Look at this. His tariffs and his threats are harming us economically yet again.
Turning now to national headlines, President Trump is warning Hamas today after a weekend of violence which threatened the fragile ceasefire in Gaza. This as a new movement on trade talks with China. Erica Brown has the latest from the White House tonight.
At the White House Monday, President Trump signed an agreement with Australia's Prime Minister on rare earths and critical minerals. During the meeting, President Trump also announced plans to visit China fairly early next year and warned of even bigger tariffs on Chinese imports if a trade agreement isn't reached soon.
China's paying 55% and a potential 155% come November.
That is not a number. Stop it. You cannot go over 100%. No matter how much you want to change math. He is such a moron.
November 1st, unless we make a deal.
And just days after his White House meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Trump expressed doubt on whether Ukraine could win its war with Russia.
They could still win it. I don't think they will, but they could still win it.
President Trump has called for an immediate ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, with Russia keeping most of the Ukrainian territory it currently occupies. Zelensky has repeatedly rejected that idea. Over the weekend, a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas was put to the test after Israel's military launched strikes in Gaza following an attack that killed 2 Israeli soldiers. Hamas denied responsibility, but President Trump blamed them for violating the ceasefire.
They're going to be very good. They're going to behave. They're going to be nice. And if they're not, we're going to go and we're going to eradicate them if we have to. They'll be eradicated.
Trump said that didn't mean U.S. boots on the ground, but that there were many countries who'd sign on to the deal who said they'd be willing to, quote, take care of the situation. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
He is going to be so bad for geopolitics. He already is bad for geopolitics, but it feels like every day he finds new ways to be worse. And I knew this ceasefire shit was just bullcrap. A ploy to try to get him a Nobel, which was never going to happen. I love that the Nobel Committee was like, yeah, we weren't even putting him in the running. And now he seems to think that, oh, well, I can petition for next year. Not with the fact that the ceasefire really wasn't a ceasefire. Trump is a failure in everything he does, and he is really hurting us. And it is not just things like these tariffs. His crackdown on supposed wasteful spending and guy gamers, which is still ridiculous, is going to have fallout for people who are on Snap, and that is millions of Americans. And I've got 2 videos to highlight the damage that is already being done, the fears that are already being stoked for American families who rely on these benefits to keep their families afloat. So let's get with Tom Lerman and his report on the concerns that the government shutdown is going to affect these programs.
Lori, a warning coming last week from the Shapiro administration that because of the federal government shutdown, SNAP payments for November would be halted. And this comes at a time when a lot of nonprofits that are already helping people with food insecurity say they're concerned about the problem getting worse.
Yep.
Those concerns being shared as volunteers packed boxes of food today at the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. Officials there say if SNAP benefits are not loaded onto EBT cards soon for the next month period, their partners with food banks and pantries all across the region will be stretched even thinner because of increased need. And again, this is coming at a time when those organizations aren't really getting much in the way of federal or state funding, in part because of the state budget impasse.
Not only that, but with the holidays coming up for some of these families, it is going to be a nightmare. But this is what Trump wants. He wants people suffering because he thinks in suffering, they'll turn to him in the chaos and just accept his nonsense. It is ridiculous.
Food Bank President Shyla Ulrich with the food bank says that the political blame game isn't productive and there are a lot of families who are losing out.
It's our littlest, our infants to our...
How did you vote though, Shyla? How did you vote? Because people that say we don't need a political blame game want to ignore that the people doing the most blame are the ones that have the power right now. The House, the Senate, and the Supreme Court are all Republican-led. So the fact that we don't need a blame game, Shyla, okay, well then tell Mike Johnson to stop pointing fingers and posting memes and get his job done. We had a bit of one of the cups spill over. It just irks me when you know somebody who more than likely voted for this says shit like that because they want to absolve themselves from the responsibility of putting us in this bag. And I'm sorry, Shiloh, unless you show me different, I'm apt to believe you're one of them bitches that voted this way. And now I want to talk about we don't need the political blame game. Ridiculous. And I'm sorry if it upsets people that I call these people out because their demographic keep putting us in bad ways. But I'm not going to stop because it needs to be said. If you voted for this, you have no right, as far as I'm concerned, to sit there judging people for not wanting to kick people off their health insurance and want to vote accordingly to get us back on track.
Our elderly and everyone in between who suffer, from food insecurity or not knowing where their next meal is coming from, and that's a big challenge.
Well, in a statement on the State Department of Human Services website, Governor Josh Shapiro's administration pointing the finger at congressional Republicans in Washington, D.C. for failing to pass a budget and causing the government shutdown, in their words. They said that as a result, November 2025 SNAP benefits would not be paid out, at least until there's a change in the situation. That post itself prompting a rebuke by the state GOP, who said Governor Shapiro's administration owed an apology and a correction for how they characterized the shutdown, saying public service.
No, he doesn't. He's calling it as he sees it. He knows who leads the House and Senate. He's not stupid. And yous banking on your base to continue to ignore the fact that yous aren't doing your jobs is ridiculous.
Isn't a political weapon, and using a government website to fuel a partisan agenda was indefensible. The post bearing some similarities to what the Trump administration has posted on some federal websites about Senate Democrats holding up the federal government impasse situation. We reached out to the Department of Human Services here in Pennsylvania for more information about why they worded that post the way they did. We have not heard back just yet.
Because
in Harrisburg, Tom Lehman,
said.
WGAL News 8.
I love how it's like, well, why did you word this factual post that way? It seems bipartisan. No, it seems factual that the GOP is holding up benefits for Americans. And yes, even here, Americans blame Republicans for shutdown. Because they are in charge. Whether you want to accept it or not, they are the ones in charge of all of this. But we have hype news to round this up with some possibly angry Trump supporters who are now starting to realize that this holiday is going to be hard for them. I always try to shop early. We already got our turkey in the oven. Well, not in the oven. Next month, 10. We got our turkey in the deep freezer. Because I had a feeling that it's going to be rough this year. And I always shop ahead of time because it's easier than trying to shop in November for this kind of stuff. And I don't know what some of these families are going to do because they're losing out. And it's bad.
On 5 Plus News, I'm John Abba.
That's $800 that I would normally get to put towards groceries.
$800? Wow. How many children do you have, ma'am? $800. That's a lot.
I'm not getting. What am I supposed to do?
As mentioned in our previous report, according to the FRAC, white Americans make up 30% of food stamp recipients, while black Americans make up 26%, followed by Hispanic.
I want you to hear that again. I'm going to tap that back because a lot of people still go by Reagan's definition of welfare queens. And if you look at that lady who's getting $800 a month, she don't look like what he was accusing welfare queens of being, does she? Funny that.
Recipients, while black Americans make up 26%, followed by Hispanic Americans at 16%, which brings in the perspective that not only black people receive SNAP benefits, and in fact, majority of the food stamp participants are white Americans. For some, this misconception that only black Americans use food stamps has been used as a form of prejudice and further looks to hurt the image of black people. Now, those eligible for food stamps are people that have a gross monthly income at or below 100% of the federal poverty level. For example, for a family of 3, the poverty line used to calculate SNAP benefits in federal fiscal year 2026 is $2,221 a month. Households with older people, 60 and older, or people with disabilities only have to meet the net income requirement to qualify. Now, as news circulates on the possibility of the government shutdown impacting food stamp programs, several white food stamp users have now taken to social media like TikTok to air out their frustration and the possibility of the government not being able to help them buy food.
For the government being shut down, I'm not getting my food stamps. And, it's October 3rd today, and I've been stressing about how I'm going to feed my family because that's $800 that I would normally get that I'm not getting.
Wow.
What am I supposed to do? And it's just infuriating because I know, Congress is getting their paychecks and it's their fault that the government is shut down right now because they don't know how to do their job.
Republicans aren't doing their job, hon. How did you vote is what I want to know.
They've caused all this inflation. They've made it impossible to make a living. And then they go and they shut down the fucking government. They just take these days off. There's a bunch of government employees that aren't Congress that are having to work for free right now. I mean, how are they feeding their families? I'm normally in bed by like 9 o'clock at night. It's almost midnight here and I'm still up stressing. They at least need to send me my money.
And another thing. Y'all are so worried about us EBT members, but y'all ain't worried about the thousands of fucking dollars it's paying for our government that can't even do their job, hence why they're going to be shut down. Let's yell at the real issue here.
Okay. Fake black scent aside, because I'm sorry, that's what that is. I'm not even gonna play these kind of games because she's getting on my nerves already. Some of the things that she just said that are wrong are, the government's paying out for this shutdown to just some employees. Congress people will get their paycheck no matter what. She's right about that. But there are literally hundreds of thousands of federal employees right now that are not getting paychecks, that have been either laid off, furloughed, or completely told that because of their ideology, ethnic background, or political background, that they are no longer welcome at work. So while I'm sorry you may not get your $800 or however much this young lady's going to get for your food, you need to point your madness at the right place. And that is towards the right, at the Republicans who are responsible for this shutdown.
It's not us. So I don't know what I'm going to do now. I came down to the store because I thought my stamps were supposed to be loading. And there's nothing on there. I reached out to the office and there's a recording that says, due to the government shutdown, all benefits are placed on hold. No money will be loading. So I had a cart full of stuff because I just assumed it was going to be on there like it always is. And I'm not 100% sure. So then I called over to the housing office about the rent check and they told me the same thing. Anyone else having this problem? Let me know in the comments because I'm not really sure what to do now.
And this is sad. And I know some people want to immediately go to like poverty shaming people, which we shouldn't. These benefits are there to help families. And she obviously is in a position where she needs help with both her rent and food. I'm not here to shame people for it. I have said on panels that I used to benefit from that when my kid was young because I needed it. I was putting myself through school. I was a single mom and I did use the system when I needed it. And I am grateful I'm in a position now where I do not have to do things like that anymore. But the fact that there are people that will look down on these women for needing help is part of the problem. You don't mind elevating wealth hoarders who do nothing but drain our system, getting their own forms of subsidies. But you'll look down on these moms that are literally needing to feed their families and keep a roof over their heads as bad. Hi, Solomon. Thank you for lurking, dear.
Now, in the comments of her video, one of the top comments that would be left would highlight some of the responses many have about people complaining about not receiving their benefits. A user would write, "You got money for eyelashes."
And that is ridiculous too, because they expect people who are on these subsidies to just live in rags and potato sacks? Like I said, I don't look down on people who need help, because there was a time in my life that I needed that. I think that there are a lot of people who fake that funk online too, because I guarantee you this young lady probably gets subsidies too. But anything to score a dunk online on people that are being open and honest about what they get.
This comment, among others, would echo others online frustration with the food stamp program and how those receiving it should be able to work like the rest of the country and pay for their food.
This message is for all the people that are complaining that they're not getting their food stamps for November. What did you do with October's food stamp money? Did you stock up on pantry items and try to shop smartly? Or did you just go buy a bunch of processed garbage?
I'm going to tell y'all the truth. I don't feel sorry for none of these folks out here crying about no damn food stamps. I mean, y'all need to get out there and figure it out like the rest of us do. But another question is, where's your baby daddies at? Why you not raising such a big fuss about your baby daddy not helping you? I don't know. Y'all let me know. Am I wrong?
Now, not everyone appears to be being as critical on those who receive food stamp benefits as one man would confirm, as he received insight that his local government is preparing for unrest to take place by those whose benefits will be cut, and that he plans on ignoring people stealing food.
I was at No Kings yesterday, and I was talking with a federal worker who runs a welfare office, and he was telling me that him and his staff have been training for de-escalation, because there are going to be some very angry people asking why their kids are going hungry. You know, they're going to be very angry, and this is going to be people's breaking point. Like that's just all there is to it. And especially for November, when it's supposed to be a time about food, especially around Thanksgiving. All I'm going to say is, if you see somebody grabbing up some food, trying to
Man, don't get people in trouble with aiding and abetting a crime. I'm going to say it like this. I am team mind my business. I don't go into stores much anymore since the pandemic anyway. I get my stuff picked up. I order it. I go into town and I get it where I don't have to even go inside the stores unless I want to now. And that has been perfect for me. But I also am of the mindset of we came out here in farm country to literally grow our own stuff. I've been experimenting with different things. I've got successful peas, green beans, spinach, tomatoes. I've got a healthy apple tree flourishing. I've got grape plant that's doing all right. I have been experimenting with growing my own for the last year now, and it has been yielding amazing results. And I know not everybody can do it, but you'd be surprised what a small container garden could help net you. They used to call them victory gardens when it was my grandparents' heyday. And it really is smart economic-wise to have something outside a government check or benefits card to feed your family nowadays. Especially since we are in one of the worst governments ever. So if you have access to things that can help you grow, and I've had lists. I will put up a new list because I don't have a Twitter anymore of things you could shop for as pantry staples that can help your family through rough times. Stuff like rice, stuff like flour, stock staples that you can make different things yourself. Even handmade bread takes a lot less than you think. It is going to be tough times, y'all. And if you aren't shopping smart, guarding your resources, and thinking strategically, you are going to suffer this winter under the Trump regime.
run away with it. No, you didn't. You didn't see shit If you see somebody desperately trying to get food, you did not see a damn thing.
The government shutdown has officially reached 21 days, and according to reports, the Democrats and Republicans need to come to an agreement soon, or the current administration will have to figure out a solution to feed 42 million people if SNAP benefits will also be shut down. Let's talk about it more in the comments below. How do you feel about white food stamp recipients sharing their struggle?
I think we need to chill with it just being about the white recipients, even though I do question how they voted. Food stamps shouldn't be as demonized as Welp Forden, as far as I'm concerned. And I say this as somebody who I know the money I spend on taxes each year, even though I get a return during the refund season, a lot of it does go to programs like this, and I'm happy it does. I don't want to see children and families starving. I do not want to see mothers struggling to feed their kids. And asking where the baby's daddies and stuff like that, I get it. People want to have those dunks on TikTok. It gets some followers. It gets like-minded people that don't understand the nuances of this and how expensive it is in some places. And like I said, I didn't know that shit went up to $800. That is wild to me. I have to wonder how many children this young lady has. She doesn't look that old. But, you know, some people do breed. And they do be making a lot of babies. And my thing is, it can't be as simple as, well, if you can't make them, and you can't feed them, don't make them. Because some people don't get a choice in this shit either. Getting married could get them out of bad situations. They might have found somebody that made them promises that they obviously can't keep. And I'm sorry, we are no longer a nation of single income households like our grandparents and maybe even some of our parents were able to do. Where your dad went out to work and your mom was a homemaker, that is not affordably feasible. Being a two-income home is the only reason why my house is able to sustain itself. And a lot of people just aren't that fortunate right now. So getting supplementary income or supplementary things like food stamps and rental assistance is necessary. And it's funny how quick we are to demonize these people without understanding the situation. But we elevate people who will waste $250 million on an unnecessary ballroom. Our priorities on what's what is warped. And it's sad because these people think they're justified dunking on mothers who really may need this versus going after people who are real drains on our system. Like Elon Musk, who got several subsidies for his stuff. Oh, but he helped. No, he doesn't. He ingratiates himself. And that is a problem with our society right now. We will elevate the worst while allowing other people to suffer because, oh, they were just born in the wrong way. And until we get rid of that attitude and mentality, we are going to be stuck in really, really bad times. And like I said, outside my outburst about Mac Johnson earlier, I am really happy with how this craft and chat came out. I hope to be way more comfortable. I know I'm going to have to edit that one part out because no matter how passionate I am, there are certain words that I don't use. Like certain slurs I don't use. So no matter how upset I get about his nonsense, I should know better. And I apologize once again for using that term. It will be edited out, the upload to YouTube. But I'm just not hide that I was passionate about being upset about Mike Johnson, and I let a word slip that I don't normally use. It is unfortunate at this point that I can let these Republicans get me that upset. But I'm a human being. And seeing my country go through this unnecessarily, see a man who's supposed to be president act so childish in the face of a country that is literally burning down, watching them commit these little crimes against humanity, saying that they're trying to go after narcos. We are in dark, unnecessarily dark times. And I just want to see this stop. But I am going to continue to work on Lucario. I will definitely be back on Friday. I am really hoping that I can get a test run of the C-dramas and commentating on that started. Right now, with the way this government is behaving, and with this shutdown continuing to loom on, and becoming tied for the first longest shutdown, it is a mess. And I feel like not commentating on it just doesn't feel right now. Because there are people who are going to suffer from this. And I know some don't seem to care. They think, well, our side's winning and that's all that matters. But are you really winning at this point? And like I said, Axiom wanted a specialized premiere ball. So this is going to have a purple band around it. Not purple, a light blue band. Instead of the normal red of the premiere ball. Now hopefully I can make it look good. And I will show the finished product of this on Friday. I'm going to keep painting because I have this and a Swift Heart Rabbit to finish. But I thank you all who sits in. Whether you're lurking, whether you're just using me as background noise. I got some editing to do before I transfer it over to YouTube. I want to thank you all for sitting in, for listening to me rant while I paint. And I will be back on Friday.